the shade replied, if you seek for El Dorado.
Cask of Amontillado. A thousand injuries of Fortunato I had borne it best I could. But when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You, who so well know the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length, I would be avenged. This was a point definitively settled, but the very definitiveness in which it had been resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong unredressed, when in retribution overtakes its redresser, is equally unredressed. When the avenger fails to make himself felt, as such to him who has done the wrong. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued to do as my wont, smile in his face. He did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. He had a weak point, this Fortunato, although in other regards he was a man to be respected and even feared. He prided himself on his ownership of wine. Few Italians have a true virtuoso spirit. For the most part, their enthusiasm is adopted to suit the time and opportunity. Practiced imposture upon the British and Austrian millionaires. In painting and gemmary, Fortunato, like his countrymen, was a quack. But in the matter of old wines, he was sincere. In this respect, I did not differ from him, materially. I was skillful in the Italian vintages myself, and bought largely whenever I could. It was about dusk one evening, during the supreme madness of the carnival season. I encountered my friend. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he had been drinking much. The man who wore motley, he had a tight-fitting party-striped dress. His head was surmounted by the conical cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him. I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, my dear Fortunato, you are luckily met. How remarkably well you are looking today. But I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado. I have my doubts. How? He said, Amontillado, a pipe? Impossible. And in the middle of Carnival. I have my doubts. I replied, now I was silly enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter. You were not to be found, and I was fearful of losing a bargain. Amontillado. I have my doubts. Amontillado. I must satisfy you. Amontillado. As you are engaged, I am on the way to see Lucchese. If anyone has a critical turn, it is he. He will tell me. Lucchese cannot tell him meow from sherry. And yet some fools will have it that his taste is a match of mine. Come. Let's go. Weather. To your vaults. My friend, no. I will not impose upon your good nature. I perceive you have engagements in Lucchese. I have no engagements. Come. My friend, no. It's not the engagement, but the severe cold in which I perceive you are afflicted. The vaults are insufferably damp. They're encrusted with nitrogen. Let's go nonetheless. The cold is mere nothing. Amontillado. You have been imposed upon. And as for Lucchese, he cannot distinguish sherry from Amontillado. Thus speaking, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm. Putting on a mask of black silk and drawing the roll of prayer closely about my person, I suffered him to hurry me to my palazzo. There were no attendants at home. They had absconded and made merry in honor of the time. I had told them that I should not return until the morning, and had given them explicit orders to not stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I well knew, to ensure that their immediate disappearance, and one and all, as soon as my back was turned. I took from their sconces 2 flambeaux, giving one to Fortunato, rode him through several suites of rooms to the archway that led to the vaults, passed down a long and winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of the descent, stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. "The pipe?" he said. "It is further on, so I would observe the white webwork which gleams from these very cavern walls." He turned towards me and looked in my eyes with 2 filmy orbs that distilled the room with intoxication. "Nitre," he said. "Nitre," I replied. How long have you had that cough?" My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. "It's nothing," he said at last. "Come," I said with decision. "We will go back. Your health is precious. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy as once I was. You are a man to be missed. For me, it is no matter. We will go back, and you will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Besides, there's Chasey." "Enough. The cough is a mere nothing, and it will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough." "True. True," I replied. "And indeed, I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily, but you should use all proper caution. A draught of this medic to defend us from the damps." Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle which I drew from a long row of its fellows that lay upon the mold. "Drink," I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me familiarly. His bells jingled. "I drink," he said, "to the buried that repose around us, and I to your long life." He again took my arm and we proceeded. "These vaults," he said, "they're extensive." "The Montresors," I replied. "We were a great and numerous family." "I forget your arms." A huge human foot d'or in a field of azure. Foot crushes a serpent, rampant, whose fangs are embedded in its heel. And the motto? "Nemo me impugn licet." Good. The wine sparkled in his eyes and his bells jingled. My own fancy grew warm with the medic. We had passed through the walls of tiled bones, casks and puncheons intermingling, into the innermost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again. This time I made bold, seized Fortunato by his arm just above his elbow. "The nitre," I said. "See, it increases. It hangs like moss upon these vaults. We're below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among these bones. Come, we will go back. It's too late. your cough. It's nothing, he said. Let's go on. But first, another draught of the medic. I broke and reached for him a flagon into the grave. He emptied it at a breath. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upward with a gesticulation I didn't understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement. A grotesque one. You do not comprehend, he said. Not I replied. And you are not of the Brotherhood. How? You are not of the Masons. Yes. You. Impossible. A Mason. A Mason, I recall. A sign. He said. Is it this? I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my robe hair. You jest. He recoiled a few paces, but let us proceed. The Amontillado. Be it so, I said, replacing the tool beneath my cloak. And again offering him my arm, he leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, descending again, arriving in a deep crypt, in which the foulness of the air caused our flambeaux rather to glow and flame. At the remote end of the crypt there appeared another less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains piled to the vault overhead, in the fashion of great catacombs of Paris. 3 sides of this interior crypt were still ornated in this manner. On the 4th, the bones had been thrown down, laid promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one point a mound of some size. Then the wall, thus exposed by the displacing of the bones, we perceive still an interior recess, the depth of about 4 feet, width 3, height 6 or 7. Seemed to have been constructed for no special use within itself, but formed nearly the interval between 2 colossal supports, the roof that held the catacombs. It was backed by one of their circumscribing walls of solid granite. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his dull torch, endeavored to pry into the depths of the recess. Its termination in the feeble light didn't enable us to see. Proceed! Herein, it's the Amontillado. Whereas for Lucchese, he is an ignoramus. He interrupted my friend and he stepped unsteadily forward. I followed immediately on his heels. In an instant, he had reached the extremity of the niche, finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, I bedded into the granite. Its surface were 2 iron staples, distance from about 2 feet. Horizontally from one of these depended a short chain, the other a padlock. Throwing the links about his waist was short work. A few seconds to secure it. He was much too astounded to even resist. Drawing the key, I stepped backwards from the recess. Pass your hand, I said. Over the wall, you cannot help but feel the nitrate. Indeed, it's very damp. Once more, let me implore you. Let us return? No? Then I must positively leave you. But I must first render you all the little attentions that are within my power. The Amontillado! Not yet, recovered from his astonishment. True! I replied, the Amontillado! As I said these words, I busied myself among the pile of bones which had before spoken. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered a quantity of building stone and mortar. These materials, with the aid of my trowel, I began vigorously to wall up the entrance of the niche. I had scarcely laid the first tier of the masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low moaning cry from the depths of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. Then there was a long and obstinate silence. I laid the second tier, third, the fourth. Then I heard the furious vibrations of the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during I thought it might hearken to it with more satisfaction. I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel, finished without interruption the fifth, the sixth, and seventh tier. The wall was nearly upon the level of my breast, and I again paused. Holding the flambeau over the masonwork, I threw it a few feeble rays upon the figure within. A succession of loud and shrill screams began bursting suddenly from the throat of the chained form. It seemed to thrust me back violently. For a brief moment, I hesitated. I trembled. Unsheathing my rapier, I began to grope about the recess, but the thought of an instant reassured me. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs. I reapproached the wall. I replied to the yells of him who clamored. I re-echoed, I aided, I surpassed them in volume and in strength. I did this, and the clamor grew still. It was now midnight. My task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it partially in its destined position. But now there came out of the niche a low laugh that erected the hairs on my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice. I had difficulty in recognizing that of the noble Fortunato. The voice said, "Very good joke indeed. Excellent jest. We will have many a rich laugh about this in the Palazzo over our wine." The Amontillado? Yeah. Yes, the Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Will they not be waiting for us in the Palazzo? The Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone. Yes, I said, let us be gone. For the love of God, Montresor! Yes, for the love of God. But these words, I hearkened in vain. No reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud, "Fortunato!" No answer. I called again, "Fortunato!" No answer still. I thrust a torch through the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth a reply only in the jingling of bells. My heart grew sick on account of the dampness of the catacombs. I hastened to make an end of my labor. I forced that last stone into position. I plastered it up. Against the new masonry, I re-erected the old rampart of bones. For a half-century, no mortal has disturbed them. In pace, requisite.
Does anyone need water? One?